Did you miss me? CLB the Realist once again, Surrealistic Studios. I was reading an article from westword.com about Standing Rock. Today, Friday, February 10th, Standing Rock protesters shut down Wells Fargo in downtown Denver. Awesome. Awesome. Let me just read this article. I found it so interesting. This is awesome. When Wells Fargo employees and security guards saw more than 100 indigenous activists and allies marching down Broadway today with the state capitol to the bank's corporate office at Broadway and 17th Avenue, they tried to seal off the building. Instead, protesters burst through one of the front doors. A brief scuffle with the security guards ensued, but the entrance was successfully breached and dozens of demonstrators streamed inside. That's how you do it. That is how you do it. Let's see. I'm sorry, this computer's moving really slow right now. Native treaties, native rights. Hey, Wells Fargo, water is life, they shouted. For the next half an hour, the main branch of Wells Fargo was completely shut down while the group demonstrated in front of stunned bank employees. Awesome. The protest was in support of the efforts in North Dakota at Standing Rock to oppose the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline, which many believe poses an environmental threat from potential oil spills that would contaminate surrounding rivers and water sources. The path of the proposed pipeline also takes it through the areas that the Sioux maintained was Indian country under the Fort Laramie Treaties of 1851 and 1868. Treaties they saw were broken. On Wednesday, February 7th, the Army Corps of Engineers approved an easement for the pipeline to cross the Missouri River. I just did a video about this easement. The directive comes from President Donald Trump. But the reason that the Denver activists disrupted business at Wells Fargo is because the bank is one of the principal financiers of Energy Transfer Partners, the corporation behind the pipeline. Interesting. Let's see. They have reason to believe that protesting Wells Fargo will be effective. On the same day that the Army engineers approved the pipeline easement, the city of Seattle announced that it is divesting nearly $3 billion from Wells Fargo, its primary financial service provider. Seattle's 9-member city council voted unanimously to end its two-decade-old relationship with the bank. That is awesome. Indigenous activists in Denver hope that the let's see, I'm sorry, this video keeps popping up. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. Indigenous activists in Denver hope that the Mile High City will follow suit, or maybe Wells Fargo will decide to stop financing Energy Transfer Partners on its own. Police and security quickly formed a perimeter inside the bank. Employees of Wells Fargo looked uncomfortable, huddled in a group behind the bank counter and muttering words to each other as demonstrators before them chanted, waved flags, and hoisted signs. Glenn Morris of the American Indian Movement of Colorado consulted with some of the police officers. He requested a meeting with Wells Fargo's representatives upstairs, but his request was denied. Some of the security guards tried giving orders through a megaphone, but were quickly drowned out by chants. Ladies and gentlemen, will everybody, ... water is life, water is life. Denver Police Commander Ronald Saunier of District 6 told Westword that officers were trying to keep things low-key. Police officers eventually showed up with significant zip ties for handcuffing hanging off their belts. Let's see. Then orders from a loud megaphone. The time is 1:32 p.m. You have 3 minutes to comply or you will be subject to arrest. About 36 demonstrators glanced nervously at the police officers around them. Then Morris quieted down the crowd. We sent our notice to the corporate offices upstairs, they shouted. They refused to meet us. This is our message to them. Wells Fargo, you are criminals. Your money is covered in oil and blood. If you think this is the last time you'll see us, you are mistaken. We will see you also in the Denver City Council, where just like Seattle, which divested itself from $3 billion, the city of Denver will make its mark as well. Boulder, Fort Collins, Lakewood, Evergreen, Aspen, Vail. If you didn't learn anything from ripping off your own customers, you're going to learn something from ripping off native people. I like that. We will be back, he continued. You should impress upon your corporate officers that it is in their best interest and the best interest of employees that if they don't want to bankrupt this corporation, they should find a conscience. If they don't want to bankrupt this corporation, they should find a conscience. They are killing our people, and you are helping them. And you are helping them. You are complicit. Those are my words. You are complicit. Let's see. With that, the demonstrators left the building, and there were no arrests. There were no arrests. Once outside, they joined dozens of protesters who have been picketing along the sidewalk on Broadway. Morris filled them in on what happened inside. We made a demand to the corporate officers that we want them to divest from the DAPL project. They refused to meet with us. They said that at some future time they might meet with us, he said. We weren't satisfied with their response. But there was nothing unusual about that. To a group of reporters, he added, people were prepared to be arrested here today. But you saw what happened. Wells Fargo didn't do business as usual here today. Every one of their employees had to stop and think about what they're doing as a corporation. We achieved that purpose today. We woke up Wells Fargo. The police told us that they heard us all the way up to the top of the corporate office. Our going to jail would not have served any useful purpose. There will be other days. Believe me, we'll be back. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's what I mean. That's what we need as a progressive movement. We need people like that. We need mass, civil, peaceful disobedience. We don't need to go to jail. We just need to show up and make our cause be known. We need to let it be known that we're not going anywhere. I love this. I love this. Stand up. Denver, Colorado, natives, indigenous people. That's what I like to hear, man. That's the stories that I like to report on right there. So big ups from LB the Realist to Realistic Studios. We appreciate all your efforts. To all the people out there in Standing Rock, to all the water protectors and the warriors standing up for all American citizens and the right to have clean drinking water, I commend you, and I thank you so much again. Man, keep fighting, y'all.